This is Transit Lounge. I am your host, Ronnie LaQuesta. Welcome. Today we will be talking about third culture kids, otherwise known as global nomads. Who are they? What are they about? To help us unpack this topic, we have invited Brett Taylor, Director of Interaction International. He joined Interaction in 2019 to serve the wider TCK community. He has traveled extensively and worked with various MKs representing over 80 countries. Welcome. We are now in our third podcast. Brett Taylor is with us today. This is Transit Lounge, and the title of this podcast is actually from I am your Interaction host. International, because we're going to talk about the Transit Lounge. We're going to talk about TCKs. We're going to talk about what we can do to help TCKs transition well and thrive. So I want to welcome my special guest speaker, or whatever you are. good friend and my buddy that I get in trouble with. His name is Brett Taylor. Welcome, Brett. How you doing?
Ronnie, always good to be with you. I was like, oh, he's not going to call me friend. I was hurt. I was mortally wounded. And then you threw that out there at the end. So,
of course,
yes.
You're my friend. You're my buddy. How can I not call you friend?
We get in a lot of trouble together. It's, we've had some good experiences together over the years. So,
yes. Oh, yeah. And I am looking forward to this coming summer.
I am too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Compass working more with Interaction International. Yeah. Let's see how this unfolds.
Last couple of years have been a little wild running the Transit Lounge together, but I mean, I can just say, just honestly, as the director of Interaction, we could not have pulled it off without you. It's been a beautiful relationship between what we bring to the table and what you guys bring together as staff and as a team. And I just love working with you guys every year. You guys are a phenomenal crew, and it is amazing to watch God literally transform lives at Transit Lounge each year. And yeah, so
well,
Ronnie,
same here, buddy. Yeah. A while back, I think it was 3 years ago, when Cindy sat down with me and asked me if we wanted to collaborate with Interaction with you on setting up a new reentry place, right? Reentry seminar. And without a doubt, I mean, right away, my heart was like, yes, let's do it. Yeah. You guys have been doing tremendous work with TCKs, and for us, you've enhanced our ministry really. Yeah, we love working with you guys too. So, Brett, tell us about yourself and how did you get into TCK ministry? I know that's a loaded question, but go ahead.
It's a loaded question. I have to admit, I did not see it coming. It wasn't something I was asking for, looking for, but I can't imagine doing anything else. It's been a wild ride. God has brought us through. And I'm so glad where we are. I started out just as a normal, monocultural kid growing up in California, enjoying the beach and life. I loved Jesus, and I went to school and really felt a call towards missions. Started out that way and was excited to head overseas after college to Kenya, and loved working with church planting and working with the amazing Maasai colleagues I had there who were just killing it for Jesus out there, planting churches, doing so much more. It was so fun to be a participant of that. But God did a weird thing, changed my heart. He started showing me the kids on my team, and I'd done a ton of youth ministry training and classes, and these kids were talking about it was like, what is going on with these guys? They're talking about pain. They're talking about loss. They're talking about not sure where they belong. I was like, what is, I can see that they have a real thing going on. All I could do is like, yes, whatever they're talking about is real. And I didn't know. And it wasn't till a few months later, someone introduced me to David Pollock's material from Interaction, and all of a sudden it was just everything just started locking into place. And just from there on, God just pushed me in that direction to just help being a champion for third culture kids and helping missionary kids in their transitions and to feel a place in this world. And love doing it. Love doing it.
Yeah, once you meet missionary kids, I mean, your heart gets full. I had the same experience. Cindy was kind of when we were first, Vivian and I coming on board with Compass. I think she was testing us, and I think she told me she was testing us. She goes, I mean, I think it was just our first day, second day. Cindy goes like, there's a MK retreat, college age MK retreat in a few weeks, and would like you to go there and come with me, right? And first off, it was a cabin kind of thing, camping kind of thing. And my wife doesn't do well camping or cabin, right? So that was like, okay, if Vivian says yes, then this is 50%. This
You were
is
using
like,
her as your excuse not to go, basically. She'll
right,
never
yeah,
say yes to this.
yeah. If
So
you say yes,
I come out
right,
as the good guy. Yeah, I see what you did
right,
there, Ronnie. Using the
yeah.
wife. I got it.
Yeah, so and without hesitation, she goes like, "Yeah, let's go." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like, I heard there's no hot shower. It's like there's not even like we got to bring our own pillow and like beddings and all that stuff. But I tell you what, we went. I don't think I had a dry eye. Vivian also, like we went through that whole weekend, fell in love with the kids. When
Yeah.
we came back, and I think I was doing something, and I went to Vivian's office that time. She wasn't working at Compass, but I walked in, she was crying,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "What? Are you okay?" And she's like, "I miss the kids."
Oh,
And that was like that sign, like, okay, you guys are gonna join Compass, and this is what you're gonna do.
locked it
And
in for you.
yeah, and the thing about it, Brett, is it brought out my own TCK-ness. I mean, I
Hmm.
didn't realize it because I was never taught this.
Yeah.
I never went through any reentry seminar.
Yeah.
So I was eating it up, and these kids were my teachers.
I
And
love it when you're in those situations where you're going expecting to kind of be the leader and you're gonna be the impactor and you turn around and God just levels you and
yeah,
impacts you and you're getting your mind blown away by what God is doing and learning about TCKs. And I love watching those moments when those light bulbs just go off for these kids and they go, I thought I was alone. There are others out there like me, and it's not abnormal. God made me this way, and it's special, and it's good. And yeah, there are some challenges, but these challenges can be dealt with. And wow, let's latch on to some of these blessings I have, and I love it. It's
yeah.
fantastic.
And that's why I love the reentry seminars because,
Mm,
like, as you know, last year when we went, I brought some staff, and one of our staff members, right, was an MK. I
yep.
mean, he brought his whole family. I think that helped transform him up to today.
Yeah.
It really impacted him because every time we go to the reentry seminar, I come out of there I mean, as exhausted as we are, because right, like you don't sleep. I mean, if you
You did
get
this
4 hours,
last time. You went up to the
yes,
Cushy
yes, that's
Hotel.
right, that's right. To be fair, yes, yes, I got sick, and
You got put in quarantine lockdown by your own wife.
that's right, that's right. And but I had a bear encounter,
Yes, you did.
so that wasn't fun. All right, let me tell that story real quickly. I was in the room and
A hotel room. I
a
mean, people
hotel
need to
room.
understand. It's like a
Yeah,
hotel
yeah,
room.
yes, a hotel room. It's and the door opens outside, and my wife was gonna do laundry, all right, because there's a laundry room next door. So
Yep.
and the door locks, like so she put that latch to not lock it.
Yeah. You don't want to get locked out of your room.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for her. I'm playing with my phone and laid down on the bed, which the wall, like, right, cuts up to here, and then the hallway to the door. And the door slams open. And I thought it was Vivian. So I was like, honey, do you need help? Because I thought she was carrying the hamper.
Yeah.
So I stand up, turns around, there's the bear. Like, hello, like, and like, I just got paralyzed, and you hear Vivian on the other side, like, I don't like, who, like, shoot, like going like this. I'm like, what is she doing?
She's trying to get the
So,
bear in there to get you.
yes, yes. So that's what we do in reentry seminars, but not
Bear
only
abatement, bear abatement,
that.
right?
Yeah. So it's hard to be serious now, but so every year when I've gone to the reentry seminar,
Yeah.
I come out of there like learning more about myself,
Mm,
learning more about being a third culture kid, learning
mm.
more about social and life skills that I lacked and had to
Yeah.
learn. And so all the challenges. So like let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we do in reentry seminar. Let's talk about what have been the challenge, what have been the challenges that TCKs go through, because a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why we do the reentry.
I was just meeting with some friends and new to me friends, and I was introducing them to what we did at Interaction and talking about third culture kids and missionary kids. And they're like, I mean, come on, they're just teenagers. All teenagers have problems. All teenagers struggle with their identity. I'm like, oh, no, you don't get it. And so it took a while to help them unpack it and go, you know what? It's not just that they're teenagers going through teenager stuff. They're going through some extra stuff in their life, and some of it's fantastic, but some of it's good. And I love this. Cheryl O'Brien and I, had worked up these symbol things, and I find that these symbols here help people understand what's going on as far as what TCKs go through, and we just go through these symbols. And after I go through a few of these, they go, "Oh, it's different."
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking. They really are. Wow, that's really hard. That's really unique. I'm like, yes. Now they get, but the elevator speech is impossible when you're talking about third culture kids. You can't give them that little definition. They go, "Oh, I get it." Unless you've lived it, unless you've seen it firsthand, unless you walked a mile in these kids' shoes, it just people don't get it.
And it doesn't, it's part of them. It doesn't leave them. So the key thing is not to eradicate that from them, because that is part of them. But the key thing is for them to learn how to integrate, how to connect, right?
Yeah.
Because I was talking to, I think, a 60-year-old MK, and we got to talking, and just asked that person I knew not to ask where you from, just so
don't do that.
What was the last country before coming to the United States you've been? Because he's been here for a while.
Yeah.
And he just went up, and I could understand it. He still went through 10 different countries explaining to me all this stuff. And because I understood, I was like, I was able to engage and listen and all that. But many people do not know that.
Well, and then there's not space. People don't have the space. They don't have context, they don't have framework to understand and hear that story. And so honestly, it usually takes another TCK or someone who has experience and training in this to be able to hear that story and process it. And so most of the time these TCKs end up with their story kind of held back by a dam, if you will, and they can't really share all of it because it's not palatable, it's not understood, there's no connecting pieces, so they hold it back. And so when they get that opportunity to share with others who have that soul, who will hear the whole, we call it the win story, and then I moved there, and then story, all that, and people care and they ask the follow-up questions and they're felt heard and seen, sometimes for a first time in a long time. It's to me, sometimes I say it's like they get to breathe for the first time, a good deep breath. If you can imagine like shallow breathing most of the time, kind of just barely getting by. And then when you see TCKs get together and they start doing that TCK beautifulness that comes together, and it's like, and it just like, you can physically sometimes see it on them, but then, and then the joy and the the conversations and the riotous times that we have, it's fantastic. So,
Yeah, it's amazing. One time, I was telling Ken this because Ken Jackson, who
yeah,
is one of the staff members we bring
fantastic
up
guy.
there, right? He, in Thanksgiving, we were talking about because we had some guests, Becky Bowden. I don't know if you saw the program before us, before Cindy.
Yeah,
She's she's a missionary doing sports around the world. So she
love it.
was with us for Thanksgiving and her girls. And so Ken was explaining what TCK is, and it's amazing, And so I started remembering it. I said, like, Ken, I remember because he started talking about that. And I said, I remember when we first met, like I think the second year we were in that retreat, college retreat. And in 5 minutes, I still have the picture, the picture of TCKs when they come together. They don't know each other from Adam. They just met there, coming from different places. And in 5 minutes, right, our first workshop, you see Ken and two other guys, they're all on the couch, like laying on top of each other, you know. And, and I think my brother Steve was teaching or something like that. And I'm watching them. It's like, this is a TCK. This is a perfect picture. I mean, they're
That's also a kin thing to go and snuggle with
right.
other guys,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's him.
Give me
But
somebody a man hug.
yeah, but there's that family, like that connectedness. Like
Yes.
you're from my tribe,
Yeah.
and it's a complete vulnerability, and I know you,
Yes.
and
There's
that. So
safety
it's awesome.
in
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And I mean, I mean, what we're describing there is, we go to this symbol here on the book where we talk about relationally how TCKs connect. And
Yeah.
this one is to remind them to not jump into relationships too fast because they just turbo on. And it seems odd for monoculturals. They don't get it. Why do TCKs, MKs, why do they do that? And why don't they just, give time for it? But that's exactly the problem. Missionary kids and TCKs haven't had time. They're constantly either moving or having people leave them. And so they're used to saying, in that short period of time, we're going to either connect or not connect. And I don't want to waste time. I'm going to make this happen or not. And so they develop just intuitively this pattern of developing quick, hot, deep relationships. And then it's going to get ripped away maybe in a year, 6 months, 2 years. And then they're going to be looking for that next one. And so when you have that pattern, you come to monocultural America or wherever your country of origin is, and people go, "You're weird. You're different.
Yeah.
I don't even hardly know you. Why are you telling me all this stuff about your life?" And it causes this cultural conflict that is strange because they appear, their passport says they belong, but internally they're wired differently. And so we tell TCK, slow down, be patient with them, don't overwhelm them, like give them a chance. And I find that when monoculturals, people understand that, they go, oh, and they give a lot more grace and appreciation and learn to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are 20 million TCKs out there in the world.
No, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. From that stats. So just for purposes of explaining real quickly, because there's some viewers that doesn't know what TCK is. Well, you do a better job than I do. Go ahead, and I'll do the four subcultures. Go ahead.
Hey, I don't know if Spencer or one of your crew can enable sharing screens. I could share.
Yeah.
A quick presentation there.
I can actually do that for you
because I mean it's always easier to see some of this than to not. Oh, you got the old man glasses on like me, huh?
Yeah. I do. Okay, I think I enabled you.
Let's see how we're doing now. Yeah, that works. So we do the classic definition here on the left side is the third culture kid is a person who spent a significant part of his or her developmental years outside their parents' culture. And when they do that, they become something different. It's not just a blending of two cultures, but they actually become they develop what's called a third culture. So it's not just if a kid from America goes to Kenya, they have a blend of Kenyan and American in their cultural backgrounds, but they actually have a culture unique from either one. The third culture, where some really amazing and unique things happen. Some of it tragic and hard, but some of it is just impressively cool. I mean, just to be honest, after working with third culture kids for more than 2 decades now, I find it hard to work with monocultural kids. It takes me a while to kind of get back into that because it's just fantastic. So
Yeah.
the classic definition is right there for people. And I think I got another slide here if we want to, where we can show the, maybe I can would it be helpful to show a little model that I worked up for that?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't want
Whatever that we can do to help them out.
Yeah. So one way I've explained it is this adaptable model I developed where we talk about someone's passport country, where their culture, where they're from, passport, me being American, I have a passport from America, and it's usually a sense of identity and stuff. And then they move overseas or move to a different culture completely, and they have exposure in that host culture. And then what develops, though, for these teenagers, these young kids, is when they spend a significant amount of time there, this weird thing happens where this third culture is developed. Is a term sociologist Dr. Ruth Useem developed. And our founder of Interaction, David Pollock, really took it to the next level as far as putting it out there. And he said, hey, we've got all of this going on. And so for here, there's the individual TCK. So as an individual, as a kid, you pick up parts of your passport culture, you pick up parts of your host culture, but you pick up part of this third culture as well. And as a result, people can connect in this place where they won't connect in any other place geographically in the world. This third culture only exists with other third culture kids. And it's a beautiful place to be together. And I mean, that's where we talk about just the fantastic experiences of living together. It doesn't matter whether those cultures are same or different. They can have two completely different. In fact, here's another quick picture of that. Pictures, you could have somebody that has, they're from France, they lived in Australia, and this person, they meet a person in the airport, and this person is from Thailand, whose parents are doing work in China, but they have this beautiful, they both overlap in this third culture kid. So even though those cultures are totally different from each other, the third culture is unique. So we get missionary kids, we get international business kids are in this group, military kids who travel with their families, diplomatic kids. So there's a group of people that fit into this definition of third culture kid.
And third culture kids easily relate, which is part of the bigger cross-cultural kids, right? Easily relate to immigrants, right?
That's right.
Because it's kind of, their re-entry, third culture kids, re-entry means coming to their passport country. And I don't want to say coming back.
That's right.
A lot of them, it's not really coming back. It's going to that place. And immigrants that are coming in, they share the same kind of experience, the unfamiliarity with the culture. Now, so we call third culture kids sometimes hidden immigrants.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a term that David Pollock and Ruth Van Rinken developed in their book Third Culture Kids, and it's this model that just basically depicts that you look and think like people. You belong there. You're a mirror. If you look and think like other people, you belong there. But when you move overseas, if I were to move to Japan, for example, I don't look Japanese, and I definitely don't think Japanese. I don't speak Japanese. I don't get it. I'm a foreigner. So mirror foreigner. But what happens is these missionary kids or other third culture kids, after living in a place for a while, they start to learn the language, the currency. They know how to shop for food. They They understand how traffic works. They
Yeah.
get into all of that. They start to love the rhythms of the life, the cultures. They understand the customs, and they actually kind of move into this place where they're adopted. So they might still outwardly look different. Their skin tone hasn't changed. Although I remember one MK crying to their parents. I heard a story that said, "Mom, I eat rice every day and I still don't look like them." And there was this belief that, if I just did this, I would be able to finally blend in, because I mean, frankly, just people want to belong. They want to feel accepted.
Yeah.
And so despite living there, learning the language, doing all of that, there's still those times where you're still a little bit of foreigner, but you're kind of adopted by the culture at some point, and you get known by the community there, and you kind of are welcomed in. But the hardest thing for most of our MKs and our TCKs that we work with is when they come back to their passport country. And yeah, what you were saying, it's not coming home. We talk about missionaries, for example. We say reentry retreats, where they come and they can learn, re-enter, and kind
Yeah.
of re-engage. Our TCKs don't resonate with that, because when you think most of their life is lived in another country, 75% of your life is in another country. Which one feels
Yeah.
more like home? That one, or the one that your
Yeah.
passport says you're from?
Yeah.
So they
Well,
come
like
back to the States, they think different, but now they look the same. They have
yeah.
all this culture, all this amazing stuff, and this third culture thing going in, but people look at them and they think they know them, but they don't. And so they're these hidden immigrants. They
Mm-hmm.
have this layer going on underneath that. People don't realize the thing. You asked that question, where are
Yeah.
you from? You said that earlier. You don't ask that question to a TCK, but you don't know not to ask it, because why? You can't tell that they're a third country
Right.
kid by looking at them.
Right. Yeah.
Unless they
The
have
old,
a Transit Lounge shirt on, then you got a pretty good idea.
yeah. My shirt has, everybody kept mentioning this, every time I wear it, like they actually, because you had it written responsible adult in the
Oh yeah,
back.
the leader shirts.
And everybody here is going like, they actually gave you that shirt. Like, because as you know, I would be leading people to toilet paper the house or whatever. So going back to TCKs, I digress.
Yes.
The old adage, right? Don't judge the book by its cover,
That's right.
because of the skin color, the appearance, and we automatically assume, hey, you are this and you know this.
Yeah.
And that is the big disconnect. And that's why it's scary for third culture kids, because there's that expectation, like, I'm American, therefore I should know everything American. But really, his heart, everything about him is Asian or Latin American or
Yeah.
European or African.
Yeah.
You know,
I
yeah,
remember my my friend Tammy Sharp. Actually, I think she's coming on later, right?
yeah.
So
Next after you, she's
I'm
coming
gonna
up.
throw her under the bus here a little
Yeah,
bit here, but she talks about avocados, and she grew up as an MK in Brazil, and for them, avocado flavoring is like ice cream and things like
yeah,
that. And so she was at her college campus, and someone was putting avocados on their salad, and she started to mock them in front of her friends, like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe it? She's putting avocados on her salad. That's terrible!" And everybody's like, "What would you do with avocados?" She's like, "I need ice cream, the avocado ice cream." And everybody's like, "What are you doing?" And so it's that hidden immigrant moment where she thought everybody was thinking the same thing, and this person was weird, and immediately gets flipped around on her, and she realizes, I'm the different one here. I
yeah,
am pulled out. I am not homogeneous with everybody. And there's laughter, there's confusion, there's embarrassment. All of that starts flipping in at one time, and that's just
yeah.
one example. I mean, there's tons of.
Who knew avocados can be eaten with sugar, right? And milk.
I think we're making Spencer hungry, because I know he's from down there.
Yeah, it's already what, 1 o'clock? He hasn't eaten anything. Hey, don't faint on me. He's a fainter. Sorry. Dude. So yes, one of the things that I really love about the reentry seminar is
Transition seminar.
transition lounge.
We don't re-enter.
Right. I'm sorry. Transition lounge. I don't know why I keep saying that. Let's just say transition lounge, right?
Yep.
Because that's what we gave it. Is the fact that we take the kids, right, from day one, uh all the fun stuff, like, and then you know, introducing to them American culture, integrating them, and giving them a safe environment
Mm,
to do that, to be like, hey, avocados are supposed to be with milk and sugar, and you know, it's okay, right?
yeah,
And then the tough part. This is the tough part. And
yeah.
man, you gave this to me last year, or this year, and it was hard because I was sick, and you still had me speak. But
Yes.
grieving. So, you know, and Spencer and I were talking because, you know, this is the reason for the root house. This is
Mm,
the reason for our compass houses. And Brett, I ask you to pray because we need that guy's house.
yes. I keep trying to
And
send you guys people. It's like
I
we're full,
know.
we're full. I'm like,
No, you know what?
make it happen, Ronnie. Make it happen. Open up another house. Let's go.
I know a Brazilian showed up at a doorstep. I'm like, we don't have a house. So I threw him with Spencer. Spencer all of a sudden had a roommate, you know.
Hey.
But we really need that house. But that is the reason why we have the Compass House, is because grieving cannot just be done over the weekend, over
Mm,
1 week or two
yeah.
weeks. And I tell Spencer this, you know what we're doing here? You know, this is our partnership with Interaction International. Like,
Mm,
you know, we do the transit lounge,
yeah.
but there's also a place
Yeah.
long term that they can process this, you
Yeah.
know. So but grieving is the most difficult thing. I mean, it's hard for us adults,
Yeah.
right?
But
But
the
then
big
for
difference is
kids,
a lot of people who've lived in one context don't experience the same type of grief,
yeah,
and it's more limited. Oh, everybody has people die in their life. Yes, yes, that's true. Although I will say percentage wise, I think it happens a lot more overseas because you're dealing with other weird issues. You're dealing with yellow fever and malaria. We've had kids who've
hmm,
had their siblings die and pass away from diseases and things like that, car accidents, other trouble that can happen overseas. And so, but that's just one part of the grief and loss. Then there's the people constantly coming and going in their life, the grief and loss that happens there. There is the loss of pets. They have a pet overseas. They come back to the US maybe for a year or two, and then they realize they're never going to go back. Or they go back and their pet's not there. It's mysteriously been taken away, or it's been lost, theft. And so they experience loss and grief in many other layers that
yeah,
are more frequent, honestly, than what most monoculture. Not, I don't like doing the comparing game, like, oh,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
it's worse, worse,
It's
but
different.
it's different. But they
Yeah,
need to acknowledge that. And we talk about going back to the symbols, their grief.
yeah.
We use this symbol there for talking about it piles up in their life from Lauren Wells' book, The
Hmm,
Grief Tower, and that
yeah.
grief
I
can
love
just
that book. Yeah,
pile up. And what happens if it gets piled up and it gets unmanageable? It comes crashing down at inappropriate times. And while you think it's about this, it's really about this. And you're getting misdiagnosed by counselors because they don't understand what's going on. That's where
right.
I love the counseling programs too that you guys offer and support services because too many
And we need
counselors just
more
are
of that.
unaware. They're
Yeah,
unaware of the grief.
we need more counselors for third culture kids, because
Yes,
it's actually specialized, because we've heard of so many TCKs getting misdiagnosed
absolutely.
because the counselor is just not aware of these experiences, the
Yeah,
losses that they incurred in a different way.
yeah.
You know, and you know, it reminds me of one debriefing we did with one family, and the 7-year-old girl, you know, she was telling her story of just, it's a loss, it's a
Mm,
loss, but for many people, they wouldn't understand it, but you know, when they left, they forgot, I think, her teddy bear or
hmm.
something,
Yeah.
right? And you know, and the mom knew, and so the whole family went into this grieving process because they left already. They're like 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
They can never get it back.
Yeah.
So, and the girl couldn't sleep, couldn't, just was crying all the time.
Yeah.
And I tell people it's more than just a teddy bear, because that teddy bear was safety, but at the same time it represents what she's leaving behind,
Yeah. It,
and we don't realize that, you
no.
know.
And it happens in all types. Some of it's planned, some of it's unplanned. This summer we had a family who came through who was part of that evacuation out of Afghanistan when everything was
Yeah.
falling apart and they're trying to pull people out. And she was telling the story about a trunk. She had a trunk of all her possessions, and they stuck it under her bed, and they hoped that they'd be able to get it. But when they're evacuating on a flight, it's like what you can carry on your back, and that's
Yeah.
all they could take. And so they knew it was there, and they were hoping maybe at some point it might be able to be shipped out. And so there was kind of this hope and expectation. Then they got news that that trunk was moved over to a neighbor's house, so they felt like it was safer there. But then they found out that the insurgency there came in and raided the house and took all that stuff, and so their stuff is gone. And so there's this loss, and
Yeah.
it's not always that extreme, but for some of these kids, they do experience that hardship and that loss, and some of it's sudden and fast, and some of it's a long goodbye,
Yeah.
and that's hard too.
It's heartbreaking. It
Yeah.
is really heartbreaking.
But what we try and do at Transit Lounge, and you did a great job again this year, is give them some tools, give them permission to unpack and acknowledge
Hmm.
that there's grief there. If you don't realize you have a problem, if you don't acknowledge you have a problem, you can't get help. And so talk about the issue, put it out there, let them have conversations about it. Let's help them identify some of those losses, and then give them some tools and hope, and give them space. And then we're not going to patch them up, send them off, and they're all better after 1 week. I'd love to be able to do some kind of magic
No, we can't do
sprinkly
that.
stuff there.
Yeah.
God can do some great things in a person's heart quick and fast, but at the end of the day, though, sometimes there's some hard work that needs to be done, and we help try
Mhm.
and point them to some of those resources to help them do the hard work that needs to be done.
But isn't that also the Christian journey, right?
Yeah,
That we're not perfect, and we can't avoid pain and loss and hurt, but we can equip our kids. Man, it's hitting me right now. We can equip our kids with tools
That's
for
right.
life. And sometimes in Christianity, we kind of, I don't know. I always say the Greek philosophers infiltrated us because it's that escapism, and instead of,
Yeah.
it's like we live in a real world and there's going to be hardships.
Yeah,
But the difference is, can we see Christ? Can we not only see but feel? Because emotions. I've been teaching about the three main parts of us. The attachment, emotions, and memories.
Mm,
That if to heal, we have to touch all three of these,
mm,
right? But that's where we also meet Christ. We meet Christ in our emotion.
amen.
Because when we just say no, we can't be emotional, but
Yeah,
then we're denying part of it. And the kids are emotional;
yeah,
they connect emotionally, so they have to meet Christ emotionally. They have to meet Christ relationally,
yeah.
and that's surrogate relationships. And I think that's what we provide for a time in Transit Lounge,
That's right.
and that's what we provide for a time at the Root House and the future Timothy House. I'm saying by faith, if you're out there and you are looking to invest your money
Yes.
into a worthy cause, well, we need a Timothy House for young men, 18 years and up,
Yes.
coming to this country, third culture kids that needs help.
Yeah. Some
And
TCKs do well. They get it and they can just
yeah,
transition and they click along, and praise God that some of them are wired that way and
and it's
have good
great.
supportive families, good supportive
Mhm.
organizations, and they just kind of roll with it and they're ready for it. But then there are others who they need some help. They need somebody
Yeah,
to guide them and walk them through the steps, and I mean, just to be brutally honest, sometimes their parents are more concerned about the work than they are about the work in their family, and they put a higher calling on that ministry than it is to the ministry to their own kids, and
yeah,
so they drop their kids off, or even worse, sometimes just send them across the ocean on their own, and hey, go to college, find a job. You can stay with your aunt who doesn't understand you at all. You see them at Christmas every 4 years, and you're gonna make it. And that's where the Timothy House is, or Ruth House, is fantastic. It gives them a place where they're understood, they're appreciated, resources are available. You guys are very practical at the services you provide. I mean, simple things from getting driver's license to opening bank accounts to how to apply for jobs. I mean, these are things that most US kids have grown up and they have at least exposure to that knowledge of it, or they, have those resources readily available. Some of these TCKs come back and they have nothing, and they need that help, and they need that processing, that grief, because until you process that, you really can't engage well until you've dealt with some of that baggage that you might be carrying.
And we need to speak to also the missionary parents that, that it might be because of old school missions, right? Was it David Livingston? Jonathan, the missionary who mapped out, sorry, my brain just went out.
Africa,
David Livingston, right? Oh my gosh. I mean, his kids died. He didn't know when to stop and when he
Hudson
was
Taylor is even worse. You look at
right.
the child and his kids grew up sent off to boarding schools, and some of them never met each other in their entire lives.
Yeah.
And so we got these missionaries who go out and put, just in my opinion, frankly, missions above God, the idolatry of missions, and the kids are paying a consequence for something that was not up to them. They weren't asked to do it, and nor do I think the parents are being asked by God to do that.
Right.
They misinterpret the whole Isaac on the altar to say, oh, we need to put our kids on the altar of missions. No. That story is not about missions and ministry. It is about, do you trust God to do his work? And that God you will trust above all. And it's that first, making sure that God is first. And then it's not about ministry second. It's about the promise of your kids and your ministry there. And in that ministry, you can effectively serve others. But I'm struggling with this. I'm guilty. I get too excited about doing the work, and my kids suffer sometimes, and I have to keep myself in check on that. And some days are better than others, but these kids, especially the missionary kids, man, they carry some heavy weight.
They do.
Heresies and stuff that they just.
That's another book. That's another book that we want to recommend. We want to recommend the Missionary Parents. That book also.
Yeah. To be perfect.
Do you have it there?
I buy them by the dozens.
Yeah.
I feel like I should, if there's a way to own stock in these, I would own stock in it, because I do it. But Tim Sanford's Holy Heresies, and just helping to put to words what these kids have kind of known and felt intuitively, but never have been able to process or intellectualize these lies that they believe, that the other people are more important than them. And that sounds good, but it's not wrong, that they can ruin their parents' ministry. Wow. Who else carries that burden?
That's a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie. And when it's their parents' ministry, then it means they are responsible for people going to hell. So if I don't, as a missionary kid, keep my act in line and do everything, get great grades, people are going to go to hell because of me. Nobody deserves to carry that.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that. And yet, time and time again, we'll see these kids carry around these lies, these heresies.
And I think that's part of our work also in Compass Ministries, to bring the parents, missionaries to health.
Yes.
And to be fair, a lot of the missionaries went out there with our family of origin, woundedness and dysfunction. And that's why it has to be holistic. That's why partnerships between ministry is very important. And that's why I love how Interaction International, Mu Kappa, Compass Ministries, we're all working together. TCK training, we're all working together. All right. My guys are signaling me, and I'm just going to say that they have this 2 minutes. So, man, when I'm with you, Brett, I don't want to leave. So I just I miss you.
Yeah.
I miss you. I appreciate you just doing this with us and just being with us for this hour. And Looking forward to 2023
Yes. We're
and
trying to
all
lock
this.
down a good location for this summer, and
Yeah.
we'll see. I got a good lead, but we'll see.
All right.
We might be back with the Bears again next year.
Well, I get possibly two intern counselors and a whole bunch of. I'm gonna try to bring Becky with us. She has been in the Root House about a year now, right, Becky? A little over a year. Yeah, yeah, and she's awesome.
Yeah,
So, well, thank you, Brett. I
absolutely.
appreciate you. Interaction International. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, before we leave, I just want to give a shout out to Canaan USA. That's Canaan, CAN, as in nanny, USA.org. You can find them in the website. On their website, they are a Hispanic ministry. They are in 60 countries. It is a restoration ministry. Yes, this is unpopular with the churches right now, but they have like 60 sites. They are located in Miami, and they help restore leaders, pastors from porn addiction, sexual
Mm,
addiction. This is big, and infidelity. And
mm.
I've never seen a church where you walk in and all 400 members are all going through restoration.
Wow.
Like I think like 90%, and they don't hide it.
Yes.
Like, they do worship, they get up there, and you hear somebody goes like, yes, I cheated on my wife in front of 400 people and broadcasting, and you see that reconciliation restoration. So it's
Oh,
a Hispanic ministry, and I think they have classes going on Monday to Sunday, and they have 200 leaders. It's amazing. We're doing we're training their missionary care group. They've asked us, Compass Ministries, to assemble a missionary care group from them and help them care for
fantastic.
their missionaries. So it's
Yeah.
fantastic, and they got tons of third culture kids,
Oh,
tons of third
absolutely.
culture kids. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, and Brett, love you, sir. And
Brother, it was a privilege. Thank you for
yeah,
inviting me on, and wish you guys all the best on this, and praying that God will give you your goals for this year.
thank you. So is Interaction International. We pray for your
Thank you.
goals to be met.
All right.